Hey guys, welcome back to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we are back with a Zeri updated complete guide. Now I've actually covered this Zeri build before as a supplementary guide a couple of months ago, and I was playing Zeri in the mid lane. So initially I thought like, okay, this is just kind of a good Zeri build, but it's not really the best. But slowly this build has kind of picked up like in popularity, and like basically every Zeri on like the leaderboards is using this build now. So I've actually covered this build before, but I'm of course gonna just explain how it works again. Before we get into that though, of course don't forget to check out Zeri's basic guide to cover her skills, leveling order, tips and tricks, as well as some combos. But without all that out the way, let's jump into talking about this build. So the concept of this build is pretty simple, because Zeri works different in Wild Rift than she does in PC. Because in PC, her Q is her auto attack and her auto attack is her Q. If you don't understand what that meant, it doesn't really matter. Basically, the only important part you need to know about this is in Wild Rift you can spam her Q, whereas in PC you cannot. So the build most people used to go for in Wild Rift is similar to the PC build, but now most people realize that you can play Zeri like how you play Ezreal, which is basically that you can just focus on making your Q strong, like with items like Manamune, Triforce, and Essence Reaver, and you can then just concentrate on landing your Qs, and your Qs are AoE and like very hard to miss, and then your auto attacks are like your secondary kind of source of damage, and your primary source of damage is going to be your Q, basically something like an Ezreal. So with that said, we of course have the Manamune to give us mana to spam spells. We have ability haste, AD, and of course when you evolve it to the mirror mana, both your auto attacks as well as your spells is going to do extra damage, so you know we love that. Next up we have Triforce. So Triforce of course gives you the Spellblade passive. So of course I don't believe Zeri's Q applies on her effects, but you're gonna auto attack in between when your Q is on cooldown anyway. So normally you start off with your Q, then you auto attack and wait for your Q to come back off cooldown, and having that Spellblade passive is gonna allow you to of course prop on your auto attacks and deal extra damage, and you're also gonna get of course a lot of ability haste to get your Q up more often. You're going to get the attack speed to of course help you attack more often, and also you're going to get a little bit of AD and of course health to be a little bit more tanky, and also the 2 movement speed passive, which of course is going to combine with Zeri's ulti to make her a very mobile champion. So for your boots, you actually have quite a number of options. Now with this Zeri build, it's kind of, you don't really have a lot of lifesteal, like you don't have Shield Bow and Bloodthirster, so you can go for Gluttonous Greaves, which is going to give you the Omnivamp. However, you also don't have a lot of attack speed, because you only have attack speed from Triforce and perhaps Solari Charge Blade as the last item, if you go for that. So some people actually like to go for the Berserker's Greaves instead for the attack speed. Now also, defensive boots are also pretty good. I don't really think you need Lucidity boots, because I think your ability haste is already enough. So I think that it's probably between these first 4 boots here. Of course, for the enchant, you go for Stasis, or you go for QSS if the situation calls for it. And then we go for Essence Reaver, which is going to give you even more ability haste, more AD, and it's going to give you a little bit of crit. And of course, it's going to empower your abilities to do 22.5 extra damage, scaling off of crit up to 30%. But of course, even if you go for 2 more crit items, it's still only going to put you to 27.5% and not 30%, because these 2 are not crit items. So speaking of which, next item we're going to go for is going to be Armor Pen item. So if you can afford to not go for Maul Reminder, if you can afford to go for LDR, then you should go for it, because it's going to increase your damage more in terms of your Essence Reaver damage and just in general. But if you do need to go for your Maul Reminder, you can and you should go for Maul Reminder. So now, the last item slot, this is really kind of really free and up to you as to what you want to go for. I personally think the best thing to go for here is Solari Charge Blade, because number 1, it gives you the attack speed to reach the max attack speed, gives you crit, gives you ability haste, which ties into the way you want to play, and it also gives you the Sunburst passive, which of course whenever you cast a spell you get a stack, and then when you auto attack you'll do on-hit magic damage. This basically is really similar to like Triforce in a sense that you basically want to Q and then you get your more damage on your next auto attack. So I think this is actually really good. However, if you want just like pure damage, of course you could go for Infinity Edge. If you want like pure lifesteal, you could of course go for Bloodthirster. And if you want safety, I don't actually have it here, but if you want safety, you can also still go for Shield Bow. So your last item is a really flexible slot. So it's kind of depending on what you prefer and depending on the situation. Now, taking a look at the runes, of course you want to go for Lethal Tempo for the attack speed, because you really don't have a lot of attack speed in this build, and auto attacking is still very important to of course DPS people down. Next up, Brutal, of course, for more damage on your auto attacks. You can go for Coup de Grace, of course, against low HP enemies, or Giant Slayer against tanky targets. And of course, we have Legend Bloodline for the Omnivamp. As I said, it's really hard to get Omnivamp in this build, so this is really crucial. And of course, Bone Plating. Of course, this allows you to block combo damage, as well as in lane makes you a lot stronger. So for the spells, of course, you go for Flash. And I like to go for Ghost on Zeri for the mobility to like kite around in fights. But of course, if there are multiple assassins or if you need exhaust, you can feel free to go for exhaust. With all that said though, let's jump into talking about Zeri's gameplay. Okay, so now let's take a look at our gameplay itself. Now, obviously Zeri, best bot lane combos, Zeri is going to be with Yuumi, is going to be with Lulu, but of course you can't have these kind of champions every game. Aside from like Yuumi and Lulu, basically most other supports are relatively similar in terms of between enchanters and engagers. You don't necessarily have a preference. In Wild Rift, Zeri isn't necessarily that weak early game, so if you get in like an engager support, you can actually fight in the early game. It's really like I know I said Zeri is weak in the early game, but she is weak, but she really isn't like completely powerless. Because if you play Zeri properly, you can still get off a lot of damage. Now, I'm going to demonstrate why this is the case. So I'm playing against a very aggressive lane here, Lucian Braum, who's very strong all in, and you know, can basically burst you down. So you can see here, basically the main way you win this kind of lane is just poking them down. You can see here, I've basically almost half health Braum just from my auto attacks and also my Q. So here, you know, we have higher range than Lucian. Braum has basically no range, so as long as we don't get into like don't get bursted by Lucian in like a couple seconds, and we can dodge his like poke things like this, for example, we should be able to poke them better than they can poke us like that. You see, I landed another Q onto Lucian. You can see Lucian's at half health, Braum's at just slightly over half health, and me and Nami are still basically nearly at full health. So Lucian and Braum probably gonna go take their fruit most likely because they have pushed in the wave. Lucian is actually hiding out in that bush. Maybe Braum did. Okay, so here, Braum's actually here, so we're just going to like batter them down. You can see here that if we take a very long trade against them, you know, they can actually get a really good burst onto Nami here. But you can see here that I'm still full health now. Nami is like, I don't know, 3/4 health, and both Lucian and Braum are below half health. So here, we're trying to play a bit more aggressive now that we have the health advantage. Of course, I know I can't kill, so I'm just trying to play a bit more aggressively to you know, sort of threaten them a little bit, but you know, I'm not really going to be able to kill them here unless we get a gank from Lee Sin, who is in the area. Really nice bubble, but Braum's shield is up, so he blocks a lot of the damage. Here I'm trying to finish the kill onto Braum, but I'm going to get stunned by Lucian. And here you can see, yeah, it does not work out. If we get into a very long trade, we do get out damaged by Lucian. Here, Lee Sin kind of just sits in the tri-bush and doesn't actually do anything. I don't know why he's not going in. Now he's finally coming in, but doesn't manage to kill anyone. He does though force both Lucian and Braum's flash. Lucian of course had already exhausted me, and Braum had already healed earlier, and now they're both 1 HP sitting on the tower. But of course, as I mentioned once again, we don't actually have the damage to kill them on the tower, so we don't want to make the mistake of being too greedy and diving them under the tower and end up dying instead. However, what we can do is they are forced to back because they're too low to stick around, so we're gonna actually get this whole wave first before we back, which is going to cause them to lose some minions. So, you know, probably can deny them a minion or two. You know, it's better than nothing. We at least have something to show for our pretty dominating lead. So here we're trying to get the components of Manamune, and we're of course just spamming the spells to charge up the tier faster. Of course, going for Manamune as an item, you're gonna take a while to scale up with the Manamune. Of course, standard kind of process. So here, Lucian goes really aggressive onto Nami. All of us have our ultimates now, so Ahri is now coming up for the roam. Or maybe she's coming up for the roam, I'm not too sure. Does alert them of her presence though, because she did pop the plant, so it's pretty exciting what's going to happen here. Here Ahri's coming in, they see her on the control ward, but they get caught by Nami, and here coming in for the counter gang is Vi, so a huge fight breaks out 3v3, and here Nami catches out the Vi. Lucian's really low, Braum is really low as well, Vi is also really low. Now we're on the chase, we get the kill onto the Braum, but unfortunately the Vi manages to escape. Lucian does go down as well to Ahri, I believe, and we are able to basically clear out the wave. So thankfully, it all worked out in our favor, and now we're able to reap the rewards by getting ourselves a couple of plates. So you can see how despite playing the quote-unquote weaker lane into the stronger lane, we can still basically do really well. Of course, we can't straight up solo 2v2 kill them without help from our team, like with the Ahri gang or Lee Sin gang. But we can, of course, kind of beat them in lane by just you know, making their life difficult, chunking them out, and making it such that they have to lose CS. Like, that's basically how we win the lane 2v2, because you know, me and Nami are not gonna be able to kill them unless they are really, really overextended, and you know, they are really low and really overextended. Then we can run them down the whole lane, something like that. But aside from that, we can't really kill them alone. Zeri doesn't have enough damage for that. So here right now, headed back to lane. They have, of course, been able to push the lane a little bit while we're resetting. Did get like a plate or two, I guess. But overall, it's still pretty positive in our direction. We can see we have almost a 1k gold lead on Lucian at this point, so we are doing pretty well. Fight breaks out as Dragon is about to spawn. Here we want to disengage the fight because we're about to get collapsed on by Vi. Here my team is a little bit split between the lane and like the jungle, so you can see like Ahri and Lee Sin are in the jungle, whereas me and Nami are in the lane. Here Vi tries to hard engage onto Nami and does get it, but here I'm going to actually dash aside to dodge the Braum ulti and start blasting people down. Here I don't quite have enough damage to finish the kills. I do finish the Vi eventually. Lee Sin comes in and we pick up a double. Like, honestly, Lee Sin should have just come a little bit earlier and you know, we would have been all good. But he was doing the dragon or something, I'm not sure. But here we finally do get the kills, and off of these kills we can of course just get the free dragon, which is basically the ideal situation for us. So Lee Sin smites the dragon down. We are, of course, getting fed 3-0-2 at the moment, but of course we still don't really have too much damage. We only have the mirror mana. And now we're going to get both the Sheen as well as, of course, our Gluttonous Greaves. Now this is really a strong power spike because, of course, the Gluttonous Greaves gives more AD than the Manamune. So the Gluttonous Greaves, huge power spike for us. The lifesteal, the AD, and of course Sheen, you know, giving you the Sheen effect is also, you know, going to be really, really strong. And here Lee Sin is actually on the Herald. We can see Braum and Lucian are still in the lane here, so we know that they have not rotated to Herald. Braum is now missing, but Lucian is still here. Really nice catch by Nami, but Braum turns out to actually be just around the corner. Braum outs the Nami for some reason instead of me. I'm fine with that, but here we have to disengage the fight because we can see Vex coming off of the roam, and also the wave is getting pretty big. Here you can see we're trying to focus down and kill the Vex. I try to flash behind the Braum shield, but I just get chain CC'd by multiple sources. Vi pops in as well, and I do end up going down. So does Nami, but Lee Sin and Ahri are coming for the cleanup. So here Ahri gets the first cleanup onto Vex, tries to go onto Braum, gets the charm on, gets stunned, but is relatively safe. Lee Sin comes in, cleans up the kills, and Lee Sin actually picks up a triple. So overall, we traded 2 for 4. Technically 3 for 4 because Nasa's died on the opposite side of the map, but you know, Nasa's not even involved in this fight, so wouldn't really count that. But yeah, so overall it was pretty positive outcome overall, even though I did personally end up dying. But Lee Sin picks up 3 kills. Lee Sin now 6-0-2. Of course, really strong early game from Lee Sin. He's at about 7k gold. This is pretty funny because he has so much gold, so many kills. Of course his gold comes from kills, but he has so much resources. But later on you'll see in the like stats, it turns out he doesn't even do damage. Like, he's just been KSing people all along. Like, like this fight he mostly just KS'd Ahri, to be very honest. He didn't really do that much. And he pretty much does this for the whole game. So you'll see he has a lot of kills, he has a lot of gold, but he doesn't actually do a lot of damage, which is pretty funny. But anyways, here we're going to head back to the lane. We're going to clear out these mini waves. And yeah, so slowly just scaling, waiting for a Triforce Mirror Mana Power Spike. Not too strong at the moment. Lee Sin also did, not Lee Sin, Lucian also decided to go for Manamune, and so he's also gonna do a little bit less damage than if he'd gone for a more offensive item like Essence Reaver. And here, another nice bubble by Nami, but really you can see the power of Braum here. Braum's just blocking all of my shots with his shield. I mean, honestly, if it was anyone, he would have blocked my shots too, because Zeri can shoot through people. Here I'm getting a really nice E into the backside, and we're able to out and finish off the Braum. We're chasing the Lucian, but here I didn't realize that Vi just destroying my team at the backside. But here we are able to save our team and get the kill onto the Vi. And at the same time, here we can try to see if we can focus the tower a little bit difficult with a Vex there. If Ahri then did the charm, I think Vex might have actually just got one shot by me and Ahri, but she does not. So you know, she is able to defend the tower. We are able to deny the enemy red buff, and I of course do get a free red buff as well. And now is going to be kind of the time to back off now. So here, of course, enemies are respawning. Here I end up staying because my team ends up staying here. And I'm just trying to provide a little bit of support to my team. But now that we've successfully disengaged the fight, we can, of course, just head back and recall. So here you can see we got our Triforce. At the same time, our Mirror Mana has evolved from the Manamune. And now it's like, of course, a huge 2-item power spec of Mirror Mana plus Triforce. Of course, same as Ezreal. And now you should start to actually do damage, and you should start to feel a little bit strong. Of course, it's gonna get even better when you get Essence Reaver and and every other item, of course, as an ADC. It does make a lot of sense. And here Lucian finally does pick up the tower, but it's not too big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. He did get an objective bounty though. Here I tried to interrupt them, but I'm surprised that didn't actually get the interrupt. I actually thought that I killed them, but not killed them. I actually thought that I stopped them, but I guess that my Q was a little bit too slow. So they both actually do manage to recall, which is a little bit unfortunate. Nami ult was also a little wasted. And here next dragon is up. So we're just going to straight up start the dragon. My team is pretty far ahead of the enemy team, so we aren't too scared of a fight at the dragon. We're just going to start it up. And of course, if we get into a fight here, we are likely to win the fight as the stronger team, so long as we are organized. Charm goes onto the Braum. Braum's a really tanky chap, so really difficult to kill. Here we do end up eventually focusing him down. Vex comes in. I'm just going to hop the wall, but I am able to finish off the kill with my Q over the wall. And Vex is only worth 150 gold because he's 0 and 6 at this point. So yeah, another fight here breaks out with the Vi. Blast Plant pop, everyone goes in a different direction. Tryndamere and Vi running for the hills at 1 HP. I do hit the W onto the Vi, but she's a little bit far away. Instead, we just land a free Q on the Tryndamere for the kill. I don't know why Tryndamere did not ult there. I was pretty sure it was going to become an actual fight because Tryndamere would have ult, Vi would come back in or whatnot. And there's a tower right here. But Tryndamere just either holds his ult for too long or just forgets to ult, or whatever the case may be. He just dies, basically. So here we come in from the Zeri flank with the ulti, and we're just blasting the Vi and the Braum down. We get both of them down. Only the Braum and the Vex are left alive, so we can probably force an inhib. Excuse me. So, and eventually though, I wanted to back off, but ends up the Braum's really low. Ahri's kind of baiting me to kind of continuing the fight, but ends up nothing really happening here. We take the enemy red buff. And here I'm trying to get a rotation off over here to see if we can actually secure this tower while the enemy team is busy defending mid lane. And we're trying to sneak this tower. We do get it with the help of Nasus. Lee Sin goes in, really aggressive. Braum ult connects. I'm going to flash out away from the Vi. And here I'm just blasting from the back line. I haven't popped the ult yet because of course I'm not fully committed to the fight. I'm just actually it's because my ult is down, not because I'm not fully committed to fight, but my ult is down. My ult just came back up. However, no real opportunity to ult here as of yet. Here I try to go for a one shot onto Vex, but I get CC'd. Lee Sin's able to finish off the kill on both her and Lucian, but he does die in the process. But me and Nami are gonna be able to pick up this top lane inhib. Wave comes in at mid, and we're gonna focus the mid lane inhib. Not only Tryndamere is left alive, he looks like he's AFK. In the base or something at this point, but here we're gonna play it safe, and we're just gonna take 2 inhibs and we're gonna back off. Textbook play here. We don't want to go for the base when enemy team is gonna respawn. We're gonna back. We're gonna pick up our Essence Reaver, and for this game, we're gonna actually pick up the Last Whisper because we want that penetration to do damage against especially like the Braum as well as the Vi. Now we could have in this spot here, we could have actually gone for QSS instead of going for Last Whisper because there was a lot of CC like Vex passive, like Vi Q, Vi ult, Braum passive, Braum ult, a lot of CC here. So here, we're trying to hop over and trying to help our team. Here I'm just running down the Lucian, hopping the wall. He exhausts me, but I am able to eventually finish both him and the Braum off for the triple kill. And here, we have a wave in mid. We're just going to use this wave to just go ahead and end the game. I think Vi and Tryndamere probably are just in the Nexus, not in the Nexus, in the fountain. But yeah, so here we have the end of the game. I'm going to leave you guys with the stats as usual. As I mentioned, we are the ones that carry, not the Lee Sin, as you will see. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.